Hi, my name is Carla. I'm with Gold Group Realty, and I'm here today with Laurel Sagen. She is a cash buyer that I could hardly wait to interview. I'm a certified probate and trust specialist, and we need cash buyers. Sometimes we come across places that are just a mess, and the general public is not going to want to buy them. So it needs to be somebody like Laurel who wants to fix it up and then resell. So I had a couple of experiences with cash buyers in the past that I just was not really impressed, and just was trying to steer clear of them until I met Laurel, and she was like a breath of fresh air. I read all 61 of her reviews, and she is the real deal. So Laurel, welcome. So glad you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate that. We work real hard at solving people's problems and not causing more.
Yes, wonderful. So tell me, what inspired you to start buying and flipping homes 20 years ago?
Well, I had retired, and then I had a bunch of rentals, and I hated being a landlord. It was terrible. And then the big crash happened. We got wiped out. And but I love the fixing up of everything, right? And when I was in my 20s, I had apprenticed as a carpenter. Didn't work out for me as a career, but I loved it. So I started flipping houses in 2010. And but before that, I had bought and fixed up about 30 rentals. So got my contractor's license. I just loved it. And it was mostly buying through realtors like yourself, on the MLS, competing with everybody else. Just, I didn't know any better. I didn't know about buying houses cash. Sorry, my beagle says somebody's at the door. But one day, I'll tell you the story why we started buying direct with people and doing cash buying is one day I was doing my walkthrough. The realtor said, just go on in. There's nobody there. Doing my walkthrough before we're going to sign. And there's this little old lady, and she was just weeping with her little walker in the living room. And I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? She said the realtor had told her she needed to get all her stuff out by Friday. And I realized that, especially back in those days when everybody was so busy and nobody cared, that a lot of realtors, they got a formula. And if you don't fit in their formula, too bad. But since then, I have bought boats. I have helped people get into assisted living by paying their community fee and their first couple months rent while we dealt with the house. I buy the house, no matter what condition it's in, as it is, including all the stuff. And since then, we put together a system to make it easy.
That's great.
It can be overwhelming when you got issues.
Your compassionate heart right there with that story is why you are on my team, Laurel, because that is how I am. And there's no way I'm going to take advantage of somebody when they're so vulnerable like that. And you could have, in a very vulnerable state. So that's very, very impressive. So when should someone consider using a cash investor?
Well, you should always look at it, right? But especially if the house needs a lot of work, or where not getting every dollar out is the most important thing, because we do buy at a discount. We all have to make a profit. But if the family has the resources to do the work and the time and everything to sell it for the top price, with a realtor, obviously 95% of the houses should be definitely sold that way. But if you've got issues where you don't have the time, attention, resources, or energy, or emotional wherewithal to deal with the property, you've got a tenant, maybe a family member who won't move. And it's a huge situation for the family. A hoard. I come from a long line of hoarders. In fact, I'm in the middle of writing a book for hoarders. These are the issues where you might consider it. And we can be creative. Look, it's my company.
That's right.
I can buy it in 2 weeks, or I can buy it in 3 months. I can give you most of your money now and let you move a little bit later. I can help you move. I can buy the car. Say you've got Uncle Ray doesn't want to let his stuff go. I can buy his We call them man hordes, by the way, when it's men with tools and stuff. I buy all his tools from him. Oh, look, Uncle George, I'll give you $20,000 for all your tools. And I just offer a little less for the house, right?
Yeah.
I can be creative. And I have the wherewithal, the time and energy to be compassionate,
That's
make
great, Laurel.
make it work for people. I don't have a broker that I answer to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to put things, I don't have to deal with the general public at all.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to come trooping through your house. It's just me and my contractors.
Yeah.
We try to make it easy, and that's when they should consider it.
Yeah. It's just overwhelming too much. And so give me some scenarios of what are your types of clients? What happens? How do you end up with a place typically?
Well, either a professional like yourself recommends
Mhm.
someone to call me,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have a lot of attorneys. Sometimes there's they live back east and they have inherited a house here and it's full of stuff and it needs repairs. And so the attorney will say, hey, look, we have a cash buyer, and I go in, code enforcement liens against properties and stuff like that. We can take care of all that. I'm a general contractor, so I can talk to the city or county and get the fines to stop. Older women who are a little worried about people coming through their house,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of a concern. Someone who needs to get into assisted living now. There's a
Mhm.
safety issue, dementia. And, there's a family member, but they can't be here all the time, or they have their own family to deal with.
Yeah.
Where the house is unsafe for sure. And we're even putting together a program where we can work with, sometimes people just don't want to deal with the people coming through the house and the realtor and all that. It's overwhelming to them. They have some emotional or psychological need. So we can kind of step in between them and the realtor and get the, do all the fixes to the house, clean it up, get it ready for the realtor, work with the realtor, and then split the difference with the homeowner. So they get a little bit better in the wholesale price, but a little less than a retail price,
Mhm.
So, sometimes if a realtor knows somebody's got too much anxiety to deal with the whole process, we get an attorney to be the power of attorney and to work the whole thing out. And we kind of step in and fix what needs to be fixed and market the property and clean it out, all that. It's my company. So when the cookie cutter doesn't work, or your realtor really doesn't have the capacity or the resources, I know
Mhm.
you are really dialed in with the Elder Services Network,
Yeah.
but if you don't have the money to do the repairs so that somebody can get a VA loan
Right.
or there's no stove in the property and there's no running water, that kind of thing. I mean,
Mhm.
you can't sell it to a family.
Right. They want to be able to move in and live in it. So,
And we
yeah.
get, placement agencies and
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of professionals. And then we're on TV. We have a TV ad. We mail to
Yeah.
people who own their own home. We send little pink postcards to people who own their own home.
Uh-huh.
And then we're on the internet. We have a lot of blogs and articles and stuff. And I've written a couple books. So sometimes people will get a hold of one of my books and will call us from that.
Mhm. Mhm. So can you explain the process? Let's say somebody calls you and says, yes, we think we qualify for a cash buyer. So what is the process of
Well,
someone?
we schedule an appointment.
Okay.
Brian, who's my other salesman, or we go to the house, we take a good look at the house, we walk through. We tell you right there, if you were to do these repairs, you could sell it for this with a realtor, and this is what it would cost you, and this is what you would end up with. If you sold it as is with a realtor, this is about what you would get. And then this is what we can do, right? And we're very upfront with people. We always know people are going to do what's in their best interest.
Mhm.
But if you decide to go with us, we fill out the paperwork right there with you. We take it to the escrow company. We open escrow. My assistant Samantha takes care of all of that paperwork, right? We then will run it through escrow with title insurance and everything. I pay for escrow. I pay the city and county transfer fees, and I pay the title insurance. So these are those are the $6,000 to $8,000 in closing costs. Mostly people just pay their notary fee and their wire fee and any liens against the property. They clear title. Give me clear title. I'll take care of everything else. So we go to the closing table. I'm at the closing table with them every step away to make sure everything's done right. My job is to make it easy and simple on them. If they can't make it in for some reason, like they got a physical issue, we'll bring the mobile notary to them from the title company. We'll send a mobile notary. It gets recorded at the county, and they get wired their proceeds right into their account. It's cash money to them that day.
Very nice.
So a lot of that's the same. It's just the middle part we make easier. And a lot of good agents will do a lot of that, but we just try to make it as chill as possible, especially with someone has a lot going on in the family. If there's a family member that won't move, we'll give them cash for keys, help them get out. These kinds of things. We'll help people pack. We won't move them, but we'll help them get movers. Those kind of things. We learned a long time ago not to help people move, but we'll help them pack.
Okay. That's what I do too. I help them pack.
I have young men that work for me. I got a couple who are a little bit older and are really good, especially with people who are elderly, because it's really hard for them to spend more than 2 or 3 hours packing at a time. And, guys come in, no, they need somebody a little calmer, right? And then we work with some really great movers and stuff that we can recommend. People help downsizing, especially if they're moving into assisted living, new leaf transitions, a few other people, house to home movers. These kinds of people will help. We can hook you up with even 2 men in a truck are pretty good if you're just moving your furniture stuff, they're good. We can help set you up with that. My assistant Sam knows everybody, but we won't pay for that or guarantee that because moving is kind of a strange world.
Yeah, I do the same, help them, refer them to people that can help them with the estate sales, buyout. Sometimes I'm working with a lady right now that they won't allow her to do an estate sale at her place because of the community she's living in, but they'll come in and do a buyout and just take everything, and she doesn't get as much, but at least her stuff is gone. She can get into that assisted living facility, like you were saying.
And if someone has a lot of beautiful stuff, and right now the millennials aren't buying a lot of stuff like we used to when we were kids at the garage sales and stuff, we'll donate it. I have an assistant, her whole job, a project manager, their whole job is to donate things to good and worthy causes.
Yeah.
Because I hate things in the landfill, but we'll take care of stuff. When I say we buy it as is, I mean as is.
Yeah, that's right. Just to get it cleaned out.
We'll clean it out.
Well, you mentioned a book. You mentioned a couple of books you wrote, and you wrote one called Your Next Move. Can you tell us more about that?
It's a book for seniors. Oops, I got myself because my office is all dirty.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, it's called Your Next Move, right? And it's just a small book, and we have a workbook too that we can use to help families work through the finances of this.
Okay.
Talks about how to sell your home, when to sell your home, if you're going to stay at home, what resources you might need if you're going to move in with a relative, or if you're going to move into assisted living, the kinds of questions you should ask, whether you use a realtor or a cash buyer, or you sell the house yourself. We go through everything, all kinds of senior housing, from independent to memory care to assisted living, both large and small boarding care facilities. We walk through all of that. We talk about having a living trust and the right kind of paperwork. Anybody over the age of 18, especially if they have children, ought to have a living trust and a power of attorney and a healthcare directive, right? So we talk about that in that book. Yeah.
Good. So it kind of prepares them for what could possibly come or happen to them. Well, what should someone consider or ask when going with a cash investor? What are some questions they should ask?
We should ask, do you have reviews? How do I know you have the money to buy the house, right? Is this your first house? I'm in part of the Better Business Bureau. I'm a general contractor licensed and bonded by the state of California. It's not to say that a young person who this is their first deal, might not do a really good job, but if you're counting on this selling, you want to make sure that whoever's doing it, can actually buy the house. So you want to get proof of that.
Right.
I mean, someone who's in a corporation like me who buys 10 to 12 houses a month, you need to know that maybe somebody who buys 2 a year, whether or not they can do the deal, right? If they're going to put earnest money into escrow, we, ask for references or referrals. Do they have a website? Just, you're trusting them.
That's right. That's right.
They're coming in your home. You're giving them your social security number, private information, because when you're doing a real estate transaction, there's certain information that is very private that so you want to make sure you can trust them with that information. And trust them that haven't moved out of the house and then they don't buy it, then you're stuck, right? So you want to ask those kinds of character questions and
so they shouldn't be
questions.
asking. So they shouldn't be asking for a social security number. Is that right?
Well, the escrow company will need it.
Okay.
So they should not ask you for it. We give people the option. They can fill out the escrow form with me and I take it straight to escrow, or they can get it, or escrow can give it. We give you the option, but if they want your social security number, your date of birth and your driver's license right then and there, and they won't do it if you don't give it to them, then be a little concerned. But the escrow company will need those things.
Yes. Yeah.
They have to make sure that you're you and that you don't have any IRS liens or child support liens or anything like that against you, because those things got to be cleared in a real estate transaction. Yeah. And if your name is Carol Smith, gotta make sure you're the right Carol Smith. So they're going to ask for history to verify who you are, right?
Yeah.
Somebody who also, if they don't talk about an escrow company, a reliable large escrow company like Stewart Title here in Sacramento, or First American or Orange Coast, or any of the big title companies, and they just say, "Oh no, I'll just pay you." No, that is not how we do. We do not do transactions in California that way. We don't use attorneys in California. We use escrow companies and title companies, right? And they're usually affiliated or the same company, or they're affiliated companies. And if someone says, "Oh no, just sign this deed," no, that's
make sure it's done legally and ethically.
We have to do it. Everything's done according to Hoyle, right?
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate about you too, Laurel, is that you do it by the book. You're not going to try to cut corners. It's not worth it, right? Your reputation's on the line, and so is mine, and that's why we do the business that we do.
Yeah, and I've been doing business over 20 years. This is, you got to protect my investors, and I have to protect the people I'm buying the house from and the people who are going to buy the house from me. Yeah. So I need to make sure that everything is done in a good way, and there's nothing dangerous there, and there's nothing that's going to come back. I don't want one of my sellers to ever run into a liability issue. So we fill out all the disclosures that are required and everything.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Laurel, thank you for meeting with me today. And if somebody were wanting to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, our website is laurelbuyshouses.com, or our phone number is 916-476-2380. 916-583. No, I was going to give you my cell phone. I'm not doing that. 916-476-2380 is our number, or just Laurel Buys Houses, LAUREL buyshouses.com. And we have a lot of information on the website, by the way.
Yeah.
Some videos, our testimonials. We try to give you as much information as possible, and really whether the house is nice or a disaster. And most people tell me, "Oh, my house is in terrible shape," and it's really kind of like the nicest house I've been in all week, right? But I understand. So
what I remember reading your reviews is people said they'd had other cash buyers, they'd reached out to other cash buyers who gave them a price of what they pay for the house, and then as they found things wrong with it, they would come down in the price. And when they met you, they said, you didn't do that. That you looked at that first, right? You look at take all those things into consideration first. Then you get the price, because there's nothing worse than think you're going to get this amount and then being disappointed and realizing you're only going to get this much. So I appreciate that about you, Laurel, that you don't want to
And
disappoint.
whenever we have to lower our price because we found out something that you couldn't see later on, it's always devastating, but we try to work it out in the best way possible. But that's so rare, like 1% of the time. So
Yeah.
rare.
Good. Yeah, good.
And
right,
if
well-
you look at my reviews, nobody's mad at me who I actually bought their house. The only people mad at me is people I didn't buy their house, right?
Yeah. So I encourage you to read Laurel's reviews. She probably has 80 of them now, but when I read them, there's only 61, I think, and Google reviews, and she has some very happy customers. So thank you again,
Thanks.
Laurel. Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me. It was awesome, Carla. This is painless.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you next time and look forward to sharing with you again, friends. Have a great day.